Stephen Mansfield, New York Times bestselling author and speaker.
Doug Tenaple, I'm the creator of Earthworm Jim.
Tweet groups.
I'm Victor Dweck. Joseph Carter, I'm the Mink Man.
This is Dave Baker from Forged in Fire.
This is Leanne Morgan. I'm a comedian, and this is why you should never.
Don't ever.
Not ever.
Don't waste your time.
Oh, you really should.
Listen to those darling, yummy Reverend and the Reprobate.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Reverend and the Reprobate.
We're doing intros now.
I am the Reverend. Lucas Pinkard. Here with me, as always, is a man whose mom is re-incarcerated. It is Danley, the son of Ragin' Majin, the Reprobate Gibson.
Mm-hmm. Her parole officer came by.
So what was it this time?
She had too many shishito peppers.
Oh, is that it?
It has
Going
capsaicins
a little too fast on the Vespa?
Too many capsaicins can be weaponized.
Well, there you go. Poor Majin.
Capsaicins? I don't know if capsaicin is what's hot in peppers, but
sure.
Let's move past this.
Yeah, there we go.
Tonight
Josh Phillips.
this morning, whenever you're watching.
Yeah, we got the very funny comedian Josh Phillips, who we talked to him. We uncover a lot of interesting things about Josh.
Yeah.
Not the least of which is that he did not start out wanting to be a comedian.
He also did not axe murder somebody, which I was very glad to confirm.
Yeah. He has a very tumultuous relationship with Slinky the Dog and Paula Dean, and he once played a zombie.
Yeah, in The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And he knows Andrew Lincoln.
You keep
AKA
changing
Rick.
You keep changing his name. How do you say
Andrew. His full name is Andrew. He called him Andy. I don't have that.
I didn't realize you guys were that kind of friends.
That's why I said Andrew.
So here you go. Find out how many famous people Danley thinks he's friends with here during this episode. And make sure that you like, subscribe, ding the little bell so that you get notifications when new episodes come out. And without further ado...
3, 2, 1. Stealing straight out of Joe.
Danley, today on our show, Mr. Expo, we have a very funny comedian, a person who's recommended to us. We actually met through a good and funny friend of ours, Moody Malavi. He is not only incredibly talented, he's been featured on a lot of shows and networks. He's on a headlining tour right now, going across the South now that he can do that again. It is
only in the South.
The third most famous Josh Phillips on Google. It is the man, the myth, the legend, Josh Phillips himself. What's up, man?
The first famous one. He's the murderer, right?
That's correct. Yeah, it's the most nefarious is the most famous.
I'm glad to learn that you are not him. You don't look anything like the guy that I Googled.
No. He not unless they feed him well in prison. I don't look like it. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm really terrible at social media or promoting or basically life. Anything that has to do with being a responsible adult. I can get on stage and be funny, but all the work part that goes along with that, I didn't. And there was one comedy club that asked me to send them my promo kit, with headshot and bio and stuff they print out and press kit and all that. And I failed to do so. So they just Googled me, and the first thing that came up was the axe murdering kid in Jacksonville, Florida. And they knew it wasn't me, but boy, they thought it would be funny. So they printed his picture out and the news article and posted it all over their website and the club. And yeah, that was fun.
That's hilarious.
Good time.
Do you think, are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm both.
He's an ambivert.
A what?
That's an ambivert is what that's called.
Oh, that means water rolls right off of
Yes, that's exactly right. And you can write with both hands.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I was curious if that had anything to do with, you like you mentioned, promoting or online. Like I struggle with that a little bit. I like to post little dumb things, but I also get in my own shell, and I want to. I know it's ironic that I'm on a show, but I'm okay with this part. But if going in front of a big audience or something would be a little harder. So
that explains why you always choked on stage.
Yeah. There's a lot of getting in your head. But
it's true.
So you're not from Jacksonville. We actually did some research.
No. He's from the town made famous by Mel Brooks. He's from Rockridge.
Yeah,
Rockridge, Tennessee.
Which is where they which is next to where they invented or they built the Fat Boy and the Little Bomb.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, that's where I'm from. I'm from Oak Ridge.
Oh, Oak Ridge.
Oak Ridge.
Oak Ridge. Oh, that's our bad.
I thought you were making the joke. Like,
Oh no, yeah, we were
We were.
making the joke.
And we intentionally bombed the.
We intentionally bombed the names of the nukes.
Yeah. I was born in Oak Ridge. My opening bit, I always mention that I'm from Oak Ridge and kind of work and talk about the nuclear facilities and stuff there. And I always ask everybody in the crowd, like, hey, anybody ever heard of Oak Ridge, or what do you know? And amazingly, there's always somebody who says something. And a lot of times they scream, the Oak Ridge boys. And
right.
I'm like, they're not from there. I said that for years and would just harass people about it. And then about 3 years ago, I opened for the Oak Ridge Boys up in Pigeon Forge. And they, to my embarrassment, said, yeah, your Oak Ridge is where our group started. And I was like, okay, well, about 100 people an apology.
Wow.
So the Oak Ridge Boys and Fat Man and Little Boy.
Yep.
That's an interesting.
Yeah.
So the nuclear facility there, you said it's still there and it's still working?
Oh, yeah. Most of the nation's nuclear weapons are made in Oak Ridge. It's really strange, too, because, like, I grew up in Oak Ridge, and it's in the middle of the Appalachian foothills. By the way, that's the appropriate way to say that word.
Appalachian?
Instead of what?
Appalachian?
Appalachian or Appalachia. I was watching some show on Netflix, and
Squid Game?
It no, I'm not sure that.
Yeah, South Koreans are really concerned about the Appalachian Mountains.
Well, if they knew what was made there, they'd change their tune. But anyway, I'm just kidding. But no, I can't remember what it was, but they were like, they were running from the law, and they're going to Canada, but they said, we're hiking the Appalachian Trail. And I was like,
clearly people who are not from there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, here's how you say this. It's like, I'm going to throw an apple at you. Appalachia. That's how you say it.
Okay.
That makes sense.
That's good.
Yeah.
Have you, when you said there was a show, I thought of the Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia. Have you seen that?
No.
It's in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. It is fantastic, but it's
a good show.
No. Well, yeah. Yes.
It's a documentary. It's not really a show.
It's a famous group. It's a famous family there. That, I mean, the Appalachian Mountains are certainly known for a few things.
They're the reason
they're the
regular Virginia doesn't want West Virginia to be a part of them.
Johnny Knoxville produced it, so that can give you a little bit of a hint.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic documentary.
That's cool. Well, I love documentaries. I'm a huge documentary guy.
Check it out.
Watch it. Nobody watch that.
Check it out.
This is not an actual recommendation from the
It
show.
is from the Reprobate.
Yeah.
The Reverend
want tons of distance, just loads of it.
Yeah.
So we've talked to a lot of our guests that have been comedians about, doing comedy, what comedy was like during COVID, and we've heard all of it. We loved Zoom comedy. Yeah. We hated it. I know that you had to go through some of that stuff too. I want to know, what's comedy like now that you're back on the road? How are people showing up at comedy clubs? Are you being well received? How are you doing as far as like getting your chops back? What's it been like being back on the road?
It's been that's a really good question, because the last show I did the last night in Chattanooga, I actually got emotional and choked up on stage. Like, I didn't see that coming. I didn't think, but it was like right before I do my closer. Mm-hmm. I asked for a 5-minute light because I know once I see that, my closer is 5 minutes. So I know that I'll end right on time. And I started talking about how nice it was to be back out on stage again and to entertain people, and, all the horrible things politically and in our world and environmentally, and just everything's really kind of crappy to talk about. And it made me think that no matter what language we speak, everybody laughs the same. So laughter is like a universal language to me. And I don't know why, but I was like, no, I was like tearing up on stage, and they felt it because they were like, "Ooh, let's clap!" So he doesn't look really They did, but yeah, I mean, it's been. I didn't realize that it was as big a part of me as I thought, because I thought, okay, if I had to walk away from this tomorrow, I could if I'm called to do something else, and I still, feel that way. But I realized then that this is what I am called to do, and I would do it for free if I had to.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Well, you want to come to our church and do some comedy?
Come do some free comedy.
Yeah. I'm not to that point yet.
Oh, okay.
But
I
gotcha.
Yeah,
I'm
the
working
conviction
on
is there. Just the action will
Yes.
be soon to follow.
We have the opportunity.
Yeah.
So we saw during the pandemic, Bert Kreischer, I believe, was one of the first. He at least totes that he came up with it. The drive-in comedy. Have you seen that? Because I'm actually really interested in checking that out. That he would rent out. Yeah, he would rent out a drive-through
or drive-in movie
theater.
Yep.
I shouldn't have said drive-throughs. Drive-in. Right. And he claims that he actually kind of likes it more than clubs to some degree. He does clubs also.
Well, it's because he's not funny.
I think
his act does not require laughter. Therefore, the people being in their cars doesn't matter.
They just get honks.
That is true.
But there's a lot of big name comedians.
Flash their lights at him.
I believe Bill Burr and Nate Bargatze has done it.
did it a couple of times.
So I was just curious, have you heard of that being successful over in your area? Huh.
No, that's really cool though.
But I mean, with the clubs being back open, it's almost a moot point, because the clubs are typically where you go. But
and he's from Tennessee, and Tennessee has had low numbers kind of across the board. But they also they recently voted in the son of the Undertaker. Kane is now a mayor in Tennessee, which is pretty awesome. So how close in proximity are you to Kane being your mayor?
Let's see. Oak Ridge to Knoxville is 10 miles, maybe.
Okay.
Whatever. So, yeah, I mean, it's just like right down the road.
You're just a body slam away.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you know what was funny? I didn't realize how big that dude is. I ran into him at a Waffle House.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa. Dude,
he's like near 7 feet taller.
Yeah. I think he's 6'8".
And I didn't realize he was almost that tall. Yeah. He's 6'10".
Good gravy.
And hold on, you said he's the son of the Undertaker. They're actually brothers, correct? But
I don't know what the thing is.
Okay.
I quit watching WWE when I was very young because so I wasn't allowed to watch it for forever. And then when I finally did watch it, I was like, that's boring.
I don't know if they're brothers in real life, but I believe they were billed that way.
No.
Yeah, no, they're not.
No.
They're not brothers in real life.
Yeah, that was their character thing or whatever. But that's funny because I didn't realize he was that enormous, and I thought, man, this place is full. Oh wow, there's only 2 guys in here.
They're both big enough. What's it been like being back on the road? I mean, Nashville and Knoxville, really Tennessee is kind of blown up with some incredible comedians. You are one of the best in that regard. And so as you're now getting to travel to other states, what are you seeing as like when you're traveling? What's it been like, having to learn the different COVID restrictions and in every place, because there are a lot of places, especially where you guys are traveling to, that are still observing certain things. What have your audiences been like? What's that been like for you?
The audiences have been so incredibly fantastic. It's almost like shooting fish in a barrel because people want to laugh. They have been cooped up for like a year and a half.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, the first couple of shows I did after this pandemic and being quarantined, I thought, I am awesome. Man, they were just laughing at everything. And then I realized I could be standing up there reading the back of a shampoo bottle and they would have just roared, because they're out of the house. So I thought, well, it's not really me. That's fine, whatever. But people, it's neat. Some clubs are doing different things. Like they've gone from, it's weird, like little things I wouldn't have thought of. Like I really like a microphone with a cord on it. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize I did, or made a habit of it, or it was kind of like a prop almost for me until some clubs said, oh, we switched to these handhelds That way you don't have to talk into the same mic as the other comics. Each one has their own, so you bring it up there. And I was like,
We'll just throw it away at the end.
I
Just dispose of it.
Yeah. I didn't realize that. I liked having a cord on the mic. Just weird little things like that. That's been kind of fun.
I can relate to that in a non-direct way. I'm a guitar player.
Indirect. That's the word you're looking for.
Non-direct, indirect.
Indirect way. Yeah.
Same difference.
with
So
you.
I when playing, I prefer a wedge. Yeah, I don't want to have the in-ears. I don't want to have a wireless guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have everything plugged in direct. But I don't have the same thing which you're talking about in between while you're telling a joke. You can spin the, you can not stare at the audience and tell your punchline and spin the joke, spin the wire around and
and I didn't realize this, but I also have one joke that I wasn't aware that I used the cord, but it was talking about a big fat woman on one of those carts at Walmart, to ride around.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't realize that I was saying this woman was so big. I didn't even know she was on a cart until I saw that cord coming out from the rear, and I would shake the cord. And I was like, oh man, I use a cord for this, just weird stuff. One thing though, that's kind of happened with me personally, like a crossroads of stuff. I got into comedy in a really weird way. Okay.
I wanted to get into this story, so I'm glad that you're telling it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have a friend of mine. He and I are good buddies, and we've known each other for about 15 years now, 14 or 16, whatever. Because I've been doing comedy for 14 years now. Oh man. Wow. It feels just like a couple. Anyway, my buddy's name is Blake, and he's a comedian and an actor. And we had a mutual friend that introduced us because our friend said, man, you guys are a lot alike. I think you would get along. And so he introduced us and we had a blast. And I recognized him from a couple movies and stuff like that and TV shows and whatnot. And so he kept trying to hound me to be a comedian. And I was like, I don't know anything about that other than I knew that it was more than just getting up there and being funny.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about premise, setup, punchline, callbacks, tags, trimming all the words to get the funny faster and all that technical junk or whatever. And, but my buddy Blake, he lied to me.
It's all good friendships are based off of a lie at the beginning.
Yes. Yeah. If you can make it through that, you can make it through anything. So, Blake, he said, hey, Josh, every time I think of Blake, I have to, I hear his voice in my head.
Right. Please continue. Yeah, we love it.
Yeah, the voices are good.
Impersonation's great.
You know? Do you know Blake? Blake
No.
Clark?
Does he? Hey, Josh.
Yeah. All right, Josh. He's from Macon, Georgia, and he helped. He was in Vietnam. Went to Vietnam. Did like 2 tours. Came back to Georgia and was like, "Man, I've seen enough death and killing and horrible things. I wanted to make people laugh." So he moved to Los Angeles in the late 70s when he got back, and he's been doing it ever since. He married his high school sweetheart. They went out there, and his name's Blake Clark.
He's in The Waterboy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He helped Adam Sandler get started in comedy. And
he's the old man. The old man from The Waterboy. Yeah.
Is he the one who can't speak legibly?
Yes.
That was a man.
Yeah. That's my buddy Blake. He played Farmer Fran. Yeah. So,
fantastic. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he said, Josh, you've got that thing. And I said, I don't know what that is, but if it makes me talk like you, I don't want it. And of course, now he's the voice of Slinky Dog in all the Toy Story movies. So maybe I do want a little of that. But anyway, he just was. It's his way of encouraging me, and he said that all the technical stuff, he said you could learn, but if you don't have that thing, then you'll never be able to do it. And he says, I have it, so I don't want you to waste it. Anyway, he was performing in Knoxville at the time. We had a comedy club there. And he said, I just want you to open for me, like be the MC, you know? And so all I had to do, he said, all you got to do is introduce the other comedians, tell them the restrooms are here, here's the specials, and tell that one little joke that you told me on the golf course, blah, blah. And so I was like, okay, well, he said, plus you can't back out of it because they've advertised you. And he knew good and well that I would find a way to not do it.
Right.
I didn't know. They don't advertise the MC.
Yeah, nobody. I don't remember anybody ever advertising an MC.
They never advertised anybody but him. And so I just like did it. And I don't know I think that's the way that God kind of got me back on the road to him.
Right.
But because I had never enjoyed failing at something in my life so much.
Did you just bomb your first set?
Oh, it was, I ate a manure sandwich. I mean, it was horrible. It was horrible. And I loved it. And I was like, man, this is so much fun. Really, really sucking at something. So
I think I would too. I get that.
Yeah. It's really strange. Well,
gloriously bombing.
Yeah. And the guy who was the manager of the comedy club, I guess he saw something in me and he's like, why don't you come back next week after Blake was out of town, did all that stuff. And it turned out that I ended up becoming the house MC, and I MC'd every show for about 50 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a strong run.
Yeah. Well, it was weird because like all the other comics I'd spoke to were like, yeah, man, I've been doing this for like 10 years and I'm a feature now and been doing a lot of open mics and stuff. And I was like, oh, wow. I never did open mic. I MC'd for a year and I got my first headlining gig at 4 years. Wow. And I learned that it's just about stage time.
Yeah.
And I'd gotten so much stage time and kind of honed it, quicker. It was like comedy boot camp, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much of it that is about reps, and building your chops and that kind of thing. I know if you look at, a lot of people have read Malcolm Gladwell's book, Outliers. And one of the groups that he highlights is the Beatles, and that the Beatles played at these clubs in Liverpool for 8 hours a day for like 50 weeks out of the year, the same kind of thing. And so it's no wonder that whenever they finally hit the stage with their original material, they were able to do things that nobody else could do because they'd put in hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on stage. So the fact that you got your start as an MC and you were in that same spot doing 50 hours a week. Now, how many shows is that a week?
Let's see. They had a show Wednesday night, one Thursday, 2 Friday, 2 Saturday. So that's 6, and then 1 on Sunday. So seven shows a week.
Good grief, man!
For 50 weeks, and then
and you were getting paid $300 a week, which is what MCs get paid, right? I know that our friend Thor Ramsey was like, "Yeah, the MC pay has not changed since 1981. That everybody just still gets $300 a week to kind of do whatever." So were you juggling that with a full-time job, or were you able to just make that shift while you were MCing?
I was, I need to get in touch with those people because I only got $150 a week.
Yeah, you get ripped off.
No, that may have been in LA.
Yeah,
that may have been LA pay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not Knoxville, Tennessee price.
Right. You mentioned premise, punchline, callback, tag. When did you end up learning that?
About 6 minutes after I came off stage.
Okay.
Everybody was like, "Oh man, you really stink. You might want to try this and this and this." No, just over time, because in that period of that year that I was an MC, I met 2 different comedians every week.
Yeah.
For that year, and so like I would take notes. I would sit out in the crowd, or back in the green room and listen and kind of take notes and just became a student, and it was like full immersion of the comedy part.
That's great.
And yeah, it was really like, if I look back at it, I was really pretty fortunate to get that opportunity and experience, because it was foreign to me to hear other comics say, "Man, I'd kill for some stage time just to do 5 minutes." Or I'll see, I was in a club in Chattanooga this past week and had comics come in every night asking for a guest spot, and they would talk to the owner and he would say, well, I'm doing away with guest spots, or give them a real hard time. And I'm just like, wow, I really was fortunate. You know,
no kidding.
That I got stage time like that.
So I want to know, so Blake Clark has you come on as the MC to tell the same story you told on the golf course. What's this story that Blake Clark thought was so great that now you had to open for him?
Oh, that's so funny. What was it? I know it had to do with my grandmother. Oh, yeah. Okay, so my grandmother, and this was true, like it wasn't a polished, like I said, story where taking it. My grandmother, she's awesome, Appalachian woman. She was born in the Smoky Mountains before it became the park. And
nice.
Just had 16 kids. I'm one of 88 grandkids on that side of the family. Yeah. She got around.
Yeah.
And so
they took
this was my grandpa, but
they took Be Fruitful and Multiply very seriously. They were full in on the cultural mandate.
Yeah, I'm like, man, did you guys not have like TV or anything? What else was there to do? But my grandmother, she got cancer in her larynx, and it's fine. They caught it in time and popped it out, but she has this little hole in her neck that she breathes through. Okay. And this is my grandmother's sense of humor. Okay. Because, and this was the story I told Blake, because she talks with those, wah, and right. I said, Blake, my grandmother kind of sounds like you, one of those little, and he thought that was kind of funny. But my grandma, she breathes out of her neck, and she, for her birthday on Halloween, we all get together at her house, and all the grandkids and great grandkids, and there's tons of people running everywhere. And growing up in the mountains and stuff, they had just like a fall little thing, and one of the games they played, they bobbed for apples, because they had apple trees on their farm and stuff. And so she always, I guess it's a nostalgic thing from your childhood, she loved doing that, bobbing for apples. And she oh my goodness, this is so funny. One of the things she liked to do was mess with all the little grandkids.
Right.
And she would get me when I was older, because she and I bonded. We have the same sense of humor. And she would get one of me, and she would say, hey, go get one of the grandkids and bring them in here. She'd have this big wash tub on the kitchen table full of water and apples. She'd say, bring one of the kids in here, and right before you get in here, tell them I'm dead. I'm like, okay, Grandma, And so I would do that. I'd go get a couple of them. And I'm like, look, we need to go check on Grandma in the kitchen, because I think she's dead. And they, Grandma dead? And we'd walk them in there. And what my grandmother would do was she would lean forward and just put her face down in that big wash tub full of water and just sit there. She could stay in it all day. She breathed out of her neck over the edge of it.
Gosh.
So standing there, and they're waiting on her for her to come up, and she's like, oh no, Grandma's dead. And I can hear her wheezing through her hole laughing. And she'd come up out of the water, her face is dripping, she'd be, I'm like, Grandma's going to hell.
That is master level trolling.
No joke. That's amazing.
Yeah. And that's true. It's true. And I would tell Blake this. She used to sprinkle sugar on the lint from the dryer and tell all of us kids it was cotton candy.
Oh, that is jacked up.
And, yes, that's Grandma. I love her.
Wow.
We sit there and like, everybody had pink and blue. Our cotton candy was always gray. And I remember the first time that we ever went to the circus, and they had these people barking, going around with these big poles with cotton candy all over it. And they were screaming, cotton candy. And Mom asked, she's like, you guys want some cotton candy? And we all screamed, no!
Are you
saved them money?
Are you still scarred that you won't eat cotton candy?
It's not my favorite.
Yeah, no doubt. If nothing else, just the association. Ugh. Oh, that's just disgusting.
Well, we had an interesting time with our mutual friend Moody.
Yes.
About a month ago, he came in. he came in and he did a great job. He had a show here, and we had an interesting. It probably wasn't that interesting, but we had a little bit of a heckle situation.
Yeah,
and
we did.
And I wanted to know what's your favorite heckle situation? Have you dealt with that very much?
Honestly, not really. Now, as an MC, I did. I kind of cut my teeth on,
like crowd work and
crowd. Yeah, I did a lot of crowd work because I realized it was my job to bring the crowd to the same place before I handed them over to the next comedian and then the next thing. But as far as like my stage character or my stage presence now, honest and true, sounds like bragging, but I am a little. But it really doesn't lend itself well to heckling.
Okay.
So I rarely ever get heckled, really. I can't think of the last time anybody's shouted something out or
he's just
or
got so much command. His demeanor is
is it just positive energy, or what do you think that is?
An ooze of masculinity.
Well, no, I carry a shotgun on stage with me, and I just
got to do it.
There you go.
Yeah.
I never mention it. I just prop it up behind me and do the show.
Yeah, there's a couple comedians I follow that they really push the hecklers. Like Steve Hofstetter is one that I don't know if almost all of his content online is around
responding to hecklers,
destroying hecklers more specifically.
Yeah, people love that.
I do. It. I follow it because I love it. I mean, I want to see the drunk 80-year-old woman that's heckling him and how he deals with it.
That just gives me anxiety. That's like one of the few things that gives me anxiety. As
it's
a
very
pastor,
funny, and he's great at it.
They're not supposed to talk back. Like if they start talking back, that's when I'm like, hey, these two in the front, get them out of here.
Sprinkle some holy water on them.
Yeah, just start flicking holy water at them. That's exactly right. No, only Baptist pastor with a holy water basin up at the front so they can get the hecklers out.
It's Ozarka.
We got a holy water and a super soaker, so we can hit that back row.
Yep.
If there's some problems.
There it is.
What's kind of funny? Getting back to like when I first started, you guys are making me reminisce.
Well, good.
I wasn't a clean comic. Okay. And it wasn't until the last couple of years, right before COVID happened, that I had like a conviction, and I was like, you know what, Lord, this is not what I need to be doing. I need to be doing clean comedy. And then I was like, you know what, that's not good enough. I just want to, like, personally, I want to do church shows. I just want to do Christian comedy, and that's really hard. And you can't do it in a club. Clubs don't even like clean comedy.
That's what we heard.
I haven't. Oh, they don't like it at all, and the crowds don't. And I'm like, they've been trained that way because of people like me who didn't know any better when I first started. And all the comics I see, were dirty. And I just had some personal convictions, and I'm like, you know what? I know God brought me here, so I need to just figure out what it is I need to do. But before I got into comedy, I was taking forensic psychology and UT, and I did like an internship.
UT, you mean the other UT? Because we're from Texas. UT to us is the University of Texas. You're talking about the other UT.
Yeah, the University of Tennessee.
There you go.
The
UT second. Jason Witten's UT.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, yeah.
He's a football player.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
I mean, I know who he is. He plays for the Cowboys, but he came from Tennessee.
Yeah, he
played for the Cowboys. He came from Tennessee.
Well, he was a volunteer. Yep.
Okay. I'm putting the pieces togetger.
There you go.
You're
doing well.
Yeah. And I love Texas too. I mean, who was the first governor of Texas?
Sam Houston.
That's right. A fine Tennessean.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
He was.
So
for as long as he could take it.
Well, there's another famous Tennessean that told Congress that I'm going to Texas. You all can go to hell.
Yeah, that's true.
That was Davy Crockett.
Yeah, Davy
Crockett.
Yeah, he came here as fast as he could.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I used to work in.
We just scoreboarded you 2 times, man.
No, not at all.
That's awesome. But before I got into comedy, I was taking forensic psychology, and I was working with Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. TB, do you guys have a TBI there?
Yes, but it's different. It's for Texas, but yes.
I don't know what TBI is.
Okay.
TBI is the Texas Bureau of Investigation, just like it would be for Tennessee.
We have Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. So I was interning with them. So it was a completely different genre of work than doing stand-up comedy. And one of the things that I realized, though, is, because I was immersed in, criminal psychology and doing all this stuff. And so I approached comedy with that perspective. Like I would go, because the few weeks before Blake got there to that first show that I was doing, I went and just watched the shows and watched how they were and just kind of observed and noticed their movements, what they were doing. Like I was tracking a criminal. I'm like, okay, what's their pattern of behavior here? What's their MO? What are they trying to achieve by doing this? What are they doing that? And I learned a couple of things, and I even come up with my own nickname for it. You said, since you're a pastor, you get thrown off a little bit when people speak to you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like from the thing, because it's off script, right?
Right.
And so one of the things that I noticed about that was some people would get really nervous, and I thought, okay, that's a thing. So what I come up with is the first few seconds when I'm walking onto the stage, and I mean just, what is it, ladies and gentlemen, from Oak Ridge, Tennessee, Josh Phillips. 1, 2, 3, 3 seconds. I call that the courting period, because two psychological things are happening at that moment. One, people as a group have a group think or a herd mentality kind of a thing. So whatever I'm feeling, they're feeling. Yeah. So as a result of that, people collectively want me to do well, because if I'm up there really nervous, they're going to feel it too. The other side of that exact same coin is, and this is why I call it the courting period, is because they're also at the same time trying to decide whether or not they like me.
Right.
Whether I'm their cup of tea or not. And so me knowing that, I go up there, and my personal goal is to make the audience grin, giggle, or laugh in the first 3 seconds without saying a word. Okay. And so it's just, and it's just with my, kind of face, and, I kind of look around and kind of do that, and I put them at ease. I'm very non-threatening.
Yeah. That is great.
Thank you, ladies.
That's nice. Yeah. That's kind of out of the Steve Martin playbook a little bit, because one of the things that one of the things he used to do, and he talks about this in his comedy classes, is that he would try, and in the first, half minute, he says really 30 to 45 seconds, is to do something physical that the audience wouldn't expect. And if you watch some of his old specials, he'd be like, here's something you don't see every day, and like jump up in the air and grab the corners of his face, just to sort of set everybody back, so that they were anticipating anything that would happen the rest of the show, so that they knew from the beginning, hey, we're not going to be able to get one over on him. We're not going to be ahead of him on any of the jokes. He's already done something that we don't expect, and already made that connection. So that's very cool. That's something you came about on your own. Now, I'm curious. You said you were into forensic psychology. Were you a fan of John E. Douglas? Were you familiar with his stuff? Yeah, so he's the guy that wrote Mindhunters. I'm currently going through his book on, and this is kind of morbid, but we're getting ready to interview somebody connected to this. So I'm going through his book right now, where he's talking about his interview with the BTK killer. So I'm in the second part. So he's outlined like all of his stuff. And actually, we've got
we are just covering a range of comedy. Now let's talk about serial killers.
Yeah, serial killers. Okay, so you're analyzing stuff from the sort of the forensic psychological thing. Is that something that you're able to use as you're talking about your MC and your crowd work, but now, like, do you change your set based on like how the audience responds to things, since you're processing things in that way?
Yes and no. I don't change the set, but I change them to accommodate my set.
Okay, because, so talk me through that.
That's power right there.
Yeah, no joke.
Okay, wow, that does sound kind of weird, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like I have fully believed in stage transparency. And I came across this once because I was doing a joke after I'd been on stage. It was like one of the first things, and it just, I don't even remember what the joke was because I got rid of it, but it just fell flat and I got no laughs. And I was looking out at the crowd and I thought, you know what? I like you guys. I respect you. Y'all are comedy connoisseurs. And if you don't like a joke, you don't waste any time about it, do you? And they kind of grinned and then they started laughing. And I'll say, and what I did was I ended up saying, okay, I used to be in forensic psychology, and I told them everything that I just told you guys about the courting period and liking each other. And then they were like, oh, that's really funny. And it worked out to where within about 2 minutes, they thought I told a really terrible joke on purpose, and it led into other stuff. And then they were right there with me.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So then I kind of like through that set, and I pick up and do it every now and then, but I'll just say, well, one time that I did have a heckler, I was like, I stopped the show. I was an MC, and I was like, sir, you clearly have something to say, and you want to be heard. And even though your name is not on the marquee, the posters, or the tickets that everybody paid to see this guy, you have something to say. So I'm going to give you the floor. And there was nothing. And I was like, you know what? I'm sure you're the funniest guy amongst all your group of friends. And I'm sure that you have done open mics and written a lot of your jokes for years and years before you came to this comedy club. And you learned about wordsmithing and trimming the fat, get to the funny faster, and try to get laughs per minute, you know, the most laughs out of the shortest period of time. You have figured out premise, set up punchlines, and then tags and callbacks. And you've effectively, you know, gone through this gambit of comedy, and now you want to try here. Oh no, you didn't do any of that. Oh, you just got drunk and walked in the door. You know?
I imagine that shuts it down.
That's awesome.
I just heard Dusty Slade talk. This is the reason hecklers are on my mind. I just heard Dusty Slade talking about this, that he had a heckler and he said he thinks hecklers do this for one of two reasons. Either they think that, you know, they are the funniest group. They are the funniest person in the little group of friends. And they think they're funny and they want to show that, or they're there to throw off. They want to see if they can throw off the comedian, see what kind of comebacks they can get.
Oh yeah.
And both of those are not the time and the place for it, you know, because like you said, their name's not on the bill. But and I found that interesting.
People who come to Josh's show just didn't know that he's the Vicini of comedy. and he's a forensic psychologist. Never get into a battle of wits with a kid from Oak Ridge when comedy's on the line. That's brilliant.
I did. The Hannibal Lecter of comedy.
I almost said that earlier.
That's
really?
Yeah. I was thinking about Starling, Agent Starling, studying Hannibal Lecter back in the back of the comedy club. In this case, Hannibal Lecter. It's so fascinating.
Now I'm kind of terrified to be in Josh's audience because I'll never know. Like when we go
mom
back,
problems, alcohol.
when we go back, we're just like pointing at everybody's trauma.
Yeah.
When we go back, when I edit this,
fear of abandonment.
When I edit this
Don't forget
episode,
to tip your servers and try the fava beans.
Yeah. Now, like when I edit this episode, I'm gonna like analyze. Did I really think that was funny, or did Josh just make me think that it was funny?
That was.
Everything. That's
you mind hunted
when
us.
I first,
yeah, he did.
Yeah,
we've been mind hunted and slain. That's awesome.
When I first started doing this, you know, I was in school at the same time, and then got out of school and was just doing Tennessee Bureau of Investigation stuff. But one of and so all that's like fresh on your mind.
Yeah.
And of course, like I said, this was 14 years ago when I first started. So I'm sure the idea is not new anymore. But I thought, wouldn't it be a great story to have a comedian who is a serial killer?
Oh yeah.
And he only murders the hecklers. You know.
It's like a funny Dexter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't think Dexter's funny?
No.
You don't see the humor in it?
No, I think he's got some good ideas.
Yeah.
But yeah, just he's up there trying to give it his level best, and he doesn't want to murder people, but some people just need murdering, and they heckle him. So he's there. He's in town for a week. So he studies their patterns. He follows them home. He does all that stuff.
Fantastic.
Because one of the things I learned in forensics is that the more random you are, the harder it is to track someone down. So if you're a road comic, you might be in Houston one week and New Orleans the next, and then Detroit, and then it's completely random.
Yeah.
And so I just thought, a story one day.
Eventually, there would be a profile that would be set up to catch this person, but
maybe.
But there would be a great cleansing of hecklers in the nation. Before
this
that.
sounds like something we should pitch to Edgar Winter. This sounds right up his alley. It would be Shaun of the Dead and the heckler.
Colton, let's get Edgar Winter on the show.
That's amazing. Okay, so all of that stuff just completely fascinates me. I know we could chase off on a rabbit trail though, but I've got one more big question for you before we get into our segment of controlled rowdiness.
Will you be my friend?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's talk to me about your relationship with Paula Dean.
Okay. It seems like everything that happens to me, and maybe this is a God thing, because I'm so dumb, he has to shepherd me in directions. But I never wanted to be a comedian, and now, I'm a headlining comedian for 14 years later. Never wanted to do acting stuff or had ambitions to it. It's not like I was resistant.
Right.
But, I did a show and met a lady, and she's like, "Hey, you're funny. I'm the casting director for The Walking Dead. You want to be a zombie?" And I'm like, yeah. So anyway.
You were a zombie in The Walking Dead?
Yeah.
How long were you in the makeup chair?
Oh, man.
What
felt like forever.
Did anyone kill you?
No.
Dang it.
No.
What do you mean, dang it? He made
killed.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I was hoping you'd say that Rick killed you or Daryl did with an arrow or something, but
or the kid.
No. But the guy who played Rick, Andy Lincoln, I made him laugh a lot.
Nice.
That's a long story. I'll have to tell you guys sometime, but I need to come down there and visit y'all.
Come on, man. Whenever you're ready.
Soon. Seriously.
Yeah.
But Paula Dean, she is agoraphobic. She doesn't like being in public. She will do it. It's not crippling, but her show when she was on the Food Network was all filmed at her house. Everything she does is filmed at her house.
Right.
And it's a big old house.
Yeah, it's a nice house.
It's out on an island there in Savannah, Georgia, and
when she walks outside, does she just cover herself in Crisco just to make sure that nothing gets on her?
It's amazing. It's really funny. She there's this gated, big stone wall around it. You can't even tell what's behind there, and you open it up and it's like Eden.
Yeah.
It's like Xanadu, this amazing estate. With everything's beautiful and manicured and whatnot. I had a friend of mine. She's a comedian, Julie Scoggins, and she got booked to do a segment on her show as a female Southern comic.
Okay.
Because Paula had kind of reinvented herself and wanted to do her own network, and she had bands and comedians and did all kinds of stuff on there. So she had booked 2 segments that they were going to film and then air. Well, Julie and I were performing together on a run. We were in South Carolina and then Georgia, and then went down into Florida. Well, our day off was the day that she was supposed to film at Paula Dean's house. And I was like, oh man, can I go? Because we didn't eat the night before, and we got up super early. We didn't have breakfast at the hotel that Paula Dean put us up at. And I was starving.
And there's some pies.
Man,
oh yeah.
Yeah. I was like, we're going to Paula Dean's house. This is going to be awesome. So a car picks us up, takes us out there, and we go in. Now, Paula Dean's producers, Paula Dean, they knew that they had booked Julie, but they didn't know who I was and didn't know I was going to be coming. Julie was supposed to come by herself, but Julie's like, "Oh, it's fine. You can tag along," And so here I went. Well, one of the producers met us at the gate, and there's this beautiful rock walkway that goes up, and then it comes to a 3-way fork in the road. You go left, it goes to this 5-car garage that she converted into a test studio kitchen and pantry. It's got everything that a grocery store has in it.
Good
you
grief.
go left and it goes into the house. But if you go straight, it goes down to the water, and there is this big giant gazebo looking thing. And it was an outdoor kitchen that was nicer than any millionaire's indoor kitchen I've ever seen. Okay. And I kept asking the lady, hey, are we going to eat? Is there food? She's like, oh, yeah, the food's right down there. And so they turned, and I thought that was
That's a green light
for me to go down there and get some grub.
Yeah,
So
time
I
to
went
grab
down
some
there,
lasagna.
and man, there was everything. There was piles of bacon, pancakes, ham. They had probably 100 eggs cooked, biscuits, gravy, hash browns. They had this bowl of fruit cocktail, but the bowl was half of a cantaloupe scooped out. They had this thing of sweet tea. So I'm heaping up this platter. It's like what you serve a turkey on at Thanksgiving. And I'm grabbing this. And then I got the sweet tea. And I see this bowl of fruit cocktail. And so I put the tea down, pick the cantaloupe up, and bite into it to hold it. And I'm like that. And I turn and look, and there's all these people dressed all in black with earpieces in. It's like, sir, who are you? You're not supposed to be here. And I was like, eh? And I was like, I thought we could eat, and we need you to come up here. And I was like, why? How come? Fine, I'll put the food back. And they're like, no, we don't care. You can have the food. We just need you to come up here right now very quickly. And I'm like, what's the matter? And they're like, because you're in the shot. And I looked up at the house, and all I could see was this giant white plume and a big Cheshire cat smile. And it was Paula Dean. They were filming in the background. They were filming in there, and she was cooking. But in the background, they saw some fat guy that they didn't know who I was run into all this cooked food, making a plate. and I didn't realize that there was about a studio audience of 80 people in her house.
Oh my gosh.
Watching. And this whole thing was on the monitors and everything. And the producers were looking at each other like, I don't know who he is. How did he get in here? Her house is like a 20 foot stone wall around the entire property. They were like, this is a fat ninja who like 007'd himself in here and made all this food. And I didn't realize that everything I did, they cut the shot and just zoomed in on like, what is this guy doing? And apparently, and I would have denied, or I did deny it until they played it back. I was like a fat kid, man. I was like, apparently I saw all this food and I went like this and bounced, and I bounced, and I was like, oh, I'm doing all this. Yeah. And so I walked in, and by that time, Julie told the producer, oh, he's another comedian. He's with me. I forgot to mention that I didn't think it'd be a problem. They're like, well, it wasn't until he got in the shot. And then I walked in, and the audience was facing her, and she was facing me, and she's like, oh, well, there is our hungry friend. Honey, come on up here. And everybody was like, yay! And they just laughed and laughed. And I was like, man, I'm really sorry. I didn't eat last night. And, and they're like, she's like, who are you? Oh, I'm a comedian. I'm a friend of Julie's and this and that. And she liked me so much. We hit it off that she bumped one of my friend spots and had me record a segment for her show. Yeah, and then she had me back like 7 more times after that.
That's awesome. Fantastic. That's absolutely amazing.
I mean, I think that is what a Southern mom's reaction would be if someone is just so excited to go wander over and get their food.
Yeah,
I could. My mom would do that too. Like, no, you're my friend. Yeah. Come on.
Yes.
This is my favorite friend of yours. He loves my cooking. Yeah, he can come over anytime.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
it was really funny.
So how good was the food?
It was amazing. And it's something else that happened too. I don't know how we got on the story, but she actually had me stand up there and cook with her because I was talking about my grandmother. And I was like, that reminds me, I can't stand anything with sage in it. I don't like turkey dressing or stuffing or whatever you call it. And she's like, well, honey, it's dressing if it's not in the bird. If it's in the bird, it's called stuffing. And I was like, well, ain't you? And we just had this banter, and we just had this thing between us, and it was really funny. And I ended up pulling out of her. She started telling stories about before she said, honey, before I got money, I had the first Thanksgiving at my house, and I lived in a trailer, and she was talking about how she wanted to look good, and she got these press-on nails from the grocery store to be, here she is, a multimillionaire, nice and everything, and she was making the cornbread dressing, and when everybody got there, she noticed that one of the fingernails was missing.
Oh no!
Yeah, it ended up in somebody's food.
Yeah, somebody got some crunchy mashed potatoes.
Yeah. I said, well, just tell them it's like a king's cake from New Orleans. Whoever gets the fingernail wins a prize.
They got to bring the cornbread next year.
But it just happened like that, and so we became buddies. And I told her I'd never had a key lime pie before in my life, and she just stopped and was like, "Y'all go get some key limes out of the pantry." She made from scratch a key lime pie for me. That was the first key lime pie I'd ever had in my life.
And now you're ruined for key lime pie.
Yeah, no joke.
Oh yeah.
Because I also love key lime pie.
That's my favorite dessert.
But if I have it from Paula Dean,
Is it really?
there's
Yeah.
nothing.
Oh yeah. It's my most favorite thing in the world is key lime pie.
Kroger brand key lime pie is not going to stand up.
Nope.
No.
Unbelievable.
I'm sorry I'm such a chatterbox.
No, that's. I mean, the show's about you.
How dare you?
Yeah, we asked you on here to interview so you could tell us how cool we were.
More of a storytelling comedian, but
No, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I've loved every second of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I really do want to hear the Andy Lincoln story because I love me some Rick.
Yeah, and
but I get it. We'll save that for another time.
So we'll just have to have you back on the show because it sounds like we're only scratching the surface as to some of these stories. So
oh man.
Well, we end all of our shows with a segment we call Controlled Rowdiness. Now, we will have rapid fire questions at you. You can answer them with answers as short or as long as you want. There are no right answers, but there are several wrong answers, so be careful where you answer. And
Gotcha, okay.
we're gonna get this segment started with Big Dan. Hey, Big Dan,
what's
up?
Can I go first? Because I forgot some of the other ones.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Go for it.
Aliens have come to Earth. Right, this is the premise, which is a callback from earlier. Aliens have come to Earth. They are going to destroy the planet unless you can tell them a story or a joke so great in 60 seconds that they decide not to.
Starting now. It's a great start.
Oh man, this is terrible. You put me on the spot, and I can't think of any joke.
And we're at 50 seconds.
Oh man. Oh, okay. Tell a joke that's so funny that'll make them. Okay.
Or a physical act.
30 seconds.
Physical comedy. Never mind.
Physical comedy.
Yeah. I'm trying to throw a bone. I confused you.
Oh yeah. You did. Listen, I'm going to fail this one. I can't. I didn't have any. Oh man. I've really wrecked it now. This is not gonna. Let's see. I just thought of one. How much time do I have?
5 seconds.
I'll save it for next time.
Okay, so what was the story?
I was just kidding.
Oh yeah, you did.
Anything. I was waiting. I was trying to run out the clock.
Well, the good news is the aliens were so charmed by your story about Paula Dean that they went ahead and spared it.
Yeah, you did such a good job whenever you first came. In those first 3 seconds, you made such an impression that you had behavioral psychology, the aliens so much during the courting period that they were like, nah, we like this guy too much. We're going to give him 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's give him we'll turn on the light when he's got 5 minutes left.
Okay, next question.
That's good. Okay, I got to do better.
No, you're fine. What's your favorite Mel Brooks movie?
Wow. Probably Blazing Saddles.
Oh,
that's so inappropriate.
We were just talking about that before this.
Because he's got a new contract to do History of the World Part 2, which just came down today from Hulu.
Really?
Yeah. So he's going to be tackling. He's going to be tackling World War II.
My favorite part is the 15 commandments, and he drops one. 10 commandments. Have you met Guy Fieri?
No, but I have a friend. I have a mutual friend of his, and this friend of mine, his name's Matt Booth from LA, and he makes my bracelets for me.
Oh,
and he
oh,
makes
cool.
Guy Fieri's bracelets also.
Sweet.
Nice.
He made me this Jesus ring too.
You
Isn't that
were
cool?
the
Oh,
only
that's
guest
very
we've
cool.
had that had cool bling. And the Reverend
Oh,
has got
okay.
some too.
This ring right here, I took a picture of the Shroud of Turin that was over Jesus, and you can kind of make out a face. And I sent that face to Matt, and I said, "Hey, can you kind of make me a?" Because everybody has skull rings, and I'm
Right.
like, "You're not really my style." So he made this from that. Isn't that cool?
That's
very cool.
That's absolutely amazing.
One of.
It's nice to have those pieces that are one-offs that nobody else can do.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Top 3, bottom 3 states.
Top 3: Tennessee,
Mm-hmm.
Montana.
Oh yeah.
The other one's a tough one. I want to say Alaska, but it's the only state I've not been to yet.
There's a
Oklahoma.
clear.
Oh my gosh.
Wait. Oklahoma's the big one with the panhandle. Oh, Texas.
There
That's what
Oh,
I
there we
meant.
go.
correct
yeah,
answer.
way better. Correct
Ding, ding.
answer.
Yeah.
All right, so bottom
The
3.
bottom 3 is
bottom 3
Oklahoma.
states.
Bottom 3: Florida.
Ooh, yeah.
Let's see. Are we talking like for just a visit or the nature of it all?
Pick your
let's
favorite
see.
or your
The
least
smell.
favorite. Yeah, based on smell.
Okay. Florida, New Jersey, and Mississippi.
Okay, Florida, New Jersey, and Oklahoma. There it is. All right, Josh, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. We've absolutely loved it. Tell our audience where it is that they can find you on social media so that they can follow you and support your material.
I am on Instagram, and it's Josh from Oak Ridge, and that's got, I think, a Facebook connection there or whatever. I'm working on doing some big things.
Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah. So check out Josh from Oak Ridge. Links to all his stuff is going to be in the show notes.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah. So make sure that you click on it, man. Thanks so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute blast.
Thank you guys for having me. I hope to be there
We'll make it happen.
Me too.
Yeah.
soon. All right. Thank y'all.
Josh freaking Phillips.
God, never answer that.
Nobody knows what you're. You're doing the Muppet song.
Then redo it.
Yeah. No, this is good.
Okay.
I think this is very airable. So the Paula Dean story, I'm glad we saved that for last because I didn't know all the details to that. I just knew that he had a relationship with Paula Dean. He'd been on her show several times, but it's hard to find clips of the guy because all you get is the murderers.
Yeah. He
But
talked.
that's awesome.
He talked about going to Israel, and this is off air,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But I did have a funny thought. That doesn't apply as well. The Paula Dean thing. If he was in Israel, if he was wandering down to the beach and he saw a spread of matzah balls and unleavened bread, and
Then he just starts just consuming all of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, very funny.
Uncovering that he was on The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
That was very unexpected.
I'm looking
And
forward.
the,
I'm looking forward to how he knows Andy Lincoln and that
and the
story.
behavioral psychologist.
That was my favorite part because he could do a masterclass on comedy on psychologically reading the crowd.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was interesting.
He's got a lot of knowledge on that. That was fascinating.
And I don't know whether or not I like him or whether or not he made me to like him.
I like him because I made him to like me.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, just absolutely fascinating. Make sure that you check out all the links in the show notes to check out some of Josh Phillips' stuff, which is
down below.
Yeah, down below. He's from.
He said Josh
from Oak Ridge,
I believe, but it's show notes.
All the stuff will be linked in the show notes. Check him out. Go support Josh Phillips. Thank you guys for watching.
Check him out. Like our stuff.
Yeah.
If you're on Apple Podcast, Podchaser, YouTube, whatever, it would mean a lot. Click the like, click the follow, whatever.
Yeah, give us a little review. It helps out the show a lot because it helps people to see that other people like the show, and it bumps us up. So for all of our fans in Honduras, thank you. We're in top 30 in Honduras right now. We have no idea how that happened, but thank you guys for listening.
Hola.
And have a good and get give. We'll see you next week.
My name is Josh Phillips, and this is why you should never listen to the Reverend and the Reprobate. They want to take all the names out of the Bible.